Mm. So, hello, beautiful people. This is Donna of Love Consciousness. So I felt that I should come on and do a little share. What I want to do more and more of are these lives, and they're really all in line with my own experience. And if you saw the live or the video that I posted the other day on claiming your divine sovereignty, it's just going into an area, I guess, that I am navigating at the moment and have been for a while, but really just coming into a deeper understanding of that. And I just wanted to share a few things. So I don't plan these, and I don't always know where this is going to go. So I'm just going to speak into what actually comes through me. And this kind of recording, the topic really is on attachment, and in particular attachment versus relation. So we're looking at relationships, we're looking at attachment, we're looking at the ways in which we attach to people. And what I am kind of beginning to navigate through, and I have been for a while, is this idea of attachment and what attachment is and what it means. And of course, when we think about attachment, that can be applied to, any area of our life. We may be attached to the idea of a certain outcome in our career, for example. And we have set that goal and we're pushing and we're pushing and we're pushing towards that goal in a state of attachment to the outcome, for example. And in relations, it's really, really important, I feel, as part of kind of beginning to become sovereign, a sovereign being in your own right, is to understand energetically the implications that attachment has on your own energy and the energy of the other being or beings that you're attached to. And so it's a form of quantum entanglement, really, that we are agreeing to when we go into a relation with someone or a connection with someone, and we have expectations or attachments to what that connection actually is and what it means. So we all have had many, many relations or relationships in our life. Every single human being that we have ever known, or we call close, or that we've had a connection to, we would probably describe that as having a relationship with this person. And even though I'm exploring attachment and relationships, there's no right or wrong here. This isn't about right or wrong, it's just a deeper sense of awareness and understanding of what we're actually doing a lot of the time when we are having relationships with individuals. So let's talk about connection first. Connection happens anytime two human beings connect, they're in the same space together. It could be on the telephone, it could be via messenger. You're connecting with another being. Now, if you connect with that being and you don't have a relationship with that being, then there is generally no attachment. So let's say we meet a stranger on the street and we just strike up a conversation with that stranger. We're having a connection, but we don't have a relation with that particular being because we've never met that being before. So we generally have no expectations. We don't know what the outcome of that conversation, for example, is going to be. We don't know that person. We haven't decided in our own minds who that person is and what we expect from that person. And so in that sense, that's a very pure connection. So a connection without expectation is a pure connection. And that happens, throughout our lives. We've all experienced that. However, what happens when we connect with someone who we have a relationship with? So we generally go into that connection, the connection's still there, but it's not a pure connection. And it's not a pure connection generally. I'm not saying always, okay? So again, I'm only just speaking out loud here, and just from my own understandings of what I've been kind of, my own conclusions, if you like, that I've been coming to. I always say just take what resonates with you and you can discard the rest, just to give you something to think about, really. When we go into meeting someone that we have a relationship with, that might be a friend, it might be a family member, or it might be, you know, a lover, an intimate relationship. Once we have set in our mind what that person is, who that person is, what we're actually doing is we are creating our own version of that being, you know, and we're creating that own version of that being through all of our own filtering systems, our conditioning, how we met, what side of that person did we connect with. We all have many, many sides to us, many aspects. And so, you know, that's why very often you can have two people looking at the same person and they will both feel completely differently about this particular individual, because they both hold their very own unique version of that individual within their mind. So they've created their own version. So when you go into a relationship, what you're doing really is you've created a version of that person. That's your version of that person. No one else holds that version except you. And through all of your filtering systems and your conditioning and your belief systems and everything else that you hold, you see that person in a particular way, in a particular light. And we can very often kind of fall into relationships in a way that once we feel that we know someone, we expect that person to behave in certain ways. Okay. And so often when we go into connecting with someone that we have previously met, that we know, that we have a relationship with, we have a whole host of expectations. We feel like we know that version of them that's going to show up. We almost can predict how that interaction might go. Let's say that you connect with someone that you perceive complains a lot. You might have that kind of feeling within you prior to meeting that person, like, oh my goodness, I'm meeting so-and-so, they're going to complain, because that's what they always do, and that's what you'll be telling yourself. I'm going to go meet this person. They're the person that I can tell all my problems to, because that's how I interact with this person, etc., etc. So in a way, what we're doing is we're creating a version of this person, and a lot of the time we're locking that version of that person within us, and we have an expectation when we meet that person of how that interaction is going to go. And because of that, we're almost pre-creating, you know, pre-manifesting how the interaction is going to go, how that person might show up, how we might show up to interact with that person, etc., etc. And what that does is it kind of takes away the purity of that connection. And so the non-attachment, you know, the non-attachment is, can you release people that you have a relation with? Can you release the past versions of them that you have interacted with? And can you move into that connection with that person without expectation of how that interaction is going to be, of how that person's going to show up? Can you show up in a different way, you know, in a state of openness and flexibility, so that you're not locking that interaction into, you know, some kind of structure, if you like, that has been pre-created. So that's the first thing, you know, and that's what I mean by, you know, connection versus relationship. What I'm being called is, can I drop my self-created personas of people? I don't know whether you've ever come across this yourself, but have you ever been in the situation where you wanted to make a change? You wanted to shift, you wanted to change into, you know, a better version of yourself. And everyone around you didn't seem happy with that. And why did they not seem happy with that? Because you were acting out of the range of the version of you that they hold inside of them. And if they are quantumly entangled with you and they're drawing energy from you on some level because they expect you to be this particular person, that can feel unsettling for them. You know, they feel insecure. They don't know where they stand with you anymore. Can I still draw that energy from you? Let's say it is that person that we continuously go to and we offload. You know, I need someone to offload to. So I have this particular person, and every time that I've gone to this person, she gives me permission to offload. And so I begin offloading every single time I see this person. And that's the way it's always been. And then let's say one day I go to try to meet this person because I want to offload. And that person's like, no, I'm sorry. They've just put a boundary in and said, you know, I'm really, really tired. I've got too much on my plate. I can't take that energy at the moment. And then we feel upset. And then it's like, oh my God, that person's changed. What's going on? And then we feel threatened. And are we losing that friendship? Are we losing that connection? And so it's about becoming aware of when we create a relation with someone, where generally two people are agreeing to certain things consciously or unconsciously. You know, if that individual that I always complain to, if she allows me to complain, she might not have verbally said, yes, you can complain to me, but unconsciously she is not saying you can't complain to me. Therefore, we are quantumly entangled and we are sharing energy on some level. You know, and it may well be that if I feel like more attached to her, I might be drawing more energy from her. And she might feel quite depleted after seeing me, you know? So it's understanding when there is some kind of relation, there is expectations normally on both sides. When there's expectations, there's normally agreements. Again, unconscious agreements. So that could be two friends and they have agreed to be friends. But then unconsciously, they have agreed to be a certain person for each other. And again, often when one wants to shift and change and grow, that can rock that structure that they have created, that quantum entanglement, the agreements. And the reason why this is so important is because actually, if we want to come into full sovereignty, we have got to release these quantum entanglements. We've got to release these, it's almost like prisons that we place each other in, where we say that's who you are, and no, you're not allowed to grow. Because if you grow, that threatens our connection, because it changes the relationship. So if we can begin to move into situations with individuals and people from a place of being much less attached, not going in with expectations of what we feel we want from that person or what we need from that person, then things can be much more flexible. Yes, there's a good chance that that person will navigate out of your life. But when you're not attached to people and quantumly entangled in the same way, that's okay. You know, and that's another thing that perhaps we need to begin to release ourselves from the expectations of that we have to be connected to this person because we've known this person for 20 years. But perhaps actually that relationship has outgrown itself. And it would be better off if these two people actually went their own separate ways. They might connect again, but there's no expectation. We let go of the fear of losing people. You know, so again, it's quite a big subject, but again, it's this awareness. The more we come into our own sovereignty, so this is all back to sovereignty again. The more we come into our own sovereignty, the more we will be asked to let go of the attachments, the relationship status that we place on another being, because we will have this like new awareness that that is a form of entanglement, it's a form of agreements, and it's also a form of sharing like an energy supply. And actually, to be fully sovereign, you are standing in your own energy. And actually, when you're standing in your own energy and someone comes and tries to attach to you, you literally feel that you have to give permission for that individual to actually begin draining your energy, and again, consciously or unconsciously. But you can feel that person actually trying to draw your energy from you. Um, and so it's about moving into a new way of relating. It's about moving into a space of being more flexible and stop holding people prisoner to your created version of them. It's about moving into a space where we can make connection much more pure without the fear that this might be the last time we have this interaction with this person, you know, because we expect this person to be here to do this and be this for us. And there's a lot of layers to go through of realization to get to this point. But until we do, we're still kind of inverted in a sense. We're still using other people as a sort of an energy supply, if you like. And because we have an expectation, we have an attachment to an outcome with that person. So yeah, so I've done this little live because this is what I'm going through, and I'm still trying to kind of like make sense of it all. But in a way, it does make sense. You know, it does make sense. I know that I hold certain visions of people that I have relationships with, and I expect those people to be that way. And so I am considering, you know, like, are you preventing that person from actually shifting and growing? Remembering that we're in a time right now that we are shifting at a rate that is so rapid. Um, and everyone's going to change in some form or another. And even maybe individuals that you maybe have had what we might call difficult relationships with in the past, give them a chance to shift and change as well. And then maybe when you have a connection with them in the future, you can see a whole different side of them, because you're not going in expecting that person to be this way or that way. And so we have to stop holding people prisoner to our expectations, because that's kind of what we're doing in a way. So it's about being much more flexible, about being much more present, about letting go of attachment and expectations to outcomes. And that can be applied to every area of our life. And moving into a new paradigm of the way we have relations is really what this is about. It's not to say that we won't have relationships, it's just about changing the way that we move into relations, being much more flexible, you know, looking at other individuals, standing in their own light, and allowing them to grow and change and shift. And if that means that they shift away from you, that's okay. You know, there's no fear there of that. You know, we're not going to stop their growth because we want them to be in our lives. And boundaries, you know, when people are hooking in and trying to attach to you and you can feel that that's not healthy, to say no and disconnect from that person if you have to. It might not be forever, but it might be necessary for a while until that individual grows and has these realizations for themselves. So, as always, just something to think about. And if you have any questions or anything else, feel free to drop something in the comments below. I will catch you soon. Have a beautiful day.